if you were elected, would you sign into law an increase in the minimum wage, and to what amount?
No, we need to keep the minimum wage where it's at. The minimum wage, I believe, on the part of the Democrats, both Barack Obama, President Obama, and Governor Quinn, is a diversion of how bad they have made the economy of the United States and the economy of the state of Illinois. No one should be working and raising a family on a minimum wage. And when you raise the minimum wage, you're going to have fewer minimum wage jobs for students at Millikan University or part-time workers who need them. You got to keep your eye on the prize. Good, paying jobs that you can raise a family on, that pay benefits and have benefits. And the minimum wage is a diversion by these Democrats as to how bad the economy is under these people, and you need good paying jobs. So we can't raise the minimum wage in Illinois. We have the fourth highest one in America, and it really hurts the people, including an extraordinary hurt, I believe, on minorities who, especially in places like Chicago, rely sometimes, sadly, on minimum wage jobs because that's all there is. And when you raise the minimum wage, there's going to be fewer jobs.
I do not support lowering the minimum wage, and I do not support raising the minimum wage at this time. And let me explain that to you. I want every Illinoisan to make as much money as possible, legally and ethically. And that is where what I talked to you about earlier, my 3 points on creating jobs in this state, they're not minimum wage threshold. They're a chance to move us forward. I think that raising the minimum wage isn't just for the young kid going to school. These are for mature individuals that are also out there helping to supplement their current fixed income. And when you take and you artificially have your government tell you that when you sell a sandwich, you deliver a service, or you have another product, that your costs will go up because your government said it will do so, without your ability necessarily to be able to raise the price of the sandwich you're selling or the services or other products you're delivering. They will reduce or not increase the number of people to hire. It's a matter of economic fact and business. If we can bring our business climate, if we can bring in workers' compensation with causation and all of these other packages, put it as a part of a comprehensive discussion, but I would not support a minimum wage increase.
Well, the goal of my administration would be to see wages lifted for everybody in Illinois. We've seen too much economic decline, people leaving the state, putting downward pressure on all kinds of wages. I don't think the government can artificially get involved there. I think Treasurer Rutherford points to a good point. In last October, both Kirk Dillard and Bruce Rauner laid out positions that would have called for a reduction in the minimum wage in Illinois. You can't do that. I haven't talked to one business in the state that thinks we can cut the minimum wage $1 an hour in Illinois down to the federal level. It would be too much of a hardship for people who are trying to make things work. But you can't raise it either because you eliminate opportunities in this state. We have to be very cautious about this. We have to be careful about what we say because this is a lightning rod issue. I can't tell you how many weeks when that came out that I had to defend that Republicans aren't for cutting the minimum wage. We're for helping people get a better economic opportunity. But when you raise the minimum wage, this is where you have to be cautious as well. You eliminate opportunities for businesses. And in fact, the Obama administration's recent declaration that if you have a federal contract, the minimum wage is $10 an hour, places a hardship on particularly colleges and universities who are employing students at minimum wage, helping them learn a skill, and helping them offset some of their college costs. Now, because they don't have more money, and I'll give you numbers in Illinois State universities, it's going to cost $1.5 million. They don't have $1.5 million, so they're going to have to reduce the number of jobs on campus, saddling those students with more debt. The unintended consequences of these dangerous decisions, regardless how populist they may sound, have to be taken into consideration. And if we're going to rebuild a vibrant economy, we have to be careful about this. So I've called for a consistent program, leaving the minimum wage where it is, let the federal minimum wage catch up. Let's focus on, though, creating jobs, career-oriented jobs, by rebuilding Illinois' economy well above the minimum wage.
Bill's real good at trying to interpret my record, but I will tell you, I have never proposed cutting the minimum wage. In fact, I once voted for a minimum wage increase when Illinois wasn't the fourth highest. So obviously, I believe you got to have a minimum wage. I think what Bill is misinterpreting is I said the top part of the minimum wage should be set to the free market. Obviously, you need a higher minimum wage in a place like Chicago than you do in rural Arkansas. And I believe that the free market should set the upper limits of the minimum wage. Just one anecdotal story so you know what the minimum wage really does. McDonald's Corporation's world headquarters is about a mile from my house, and I had the good fortune of going to see the CEO of McDonald's, an African-American gentleman who has worked his way up through that great company, an Illinois company. And I said, Mr. President, what do I need to know about the minimum wage? And he smiled and he said, well, first of all, you need to know McDonald's is not a minimum wage employer. McDonald's pays a minimum wage for maybe the first 5 or 6 weeks you're there, and then they're above the minimum wage. So, he made it very clear they're not a minimum wage employer, but he goes, but just to show you, and we're not a minimum wage employer, but we do have trainees in that minimum wage at the beginning, it would be $50,000 to $60,000 per store, per McDonald's store, if you raise the minimum wage to what Governor Quinn is proposing. And he goes, and what does that mean? He goes, maybe it means you wait in line another 10 seconds, but I will have fewer line workers, is what he said, at a McDonald's, especially franchisee McDonald's. There'll be fewer jobs for the kid who is a student at Millikan University who might need a part-time job. So there's a real cost to employers of increasing the minimum wage, and I think it hurts the people that you really need to help.
Senator Brady?
Well, just to clarify what I said, in the Quad Cities, Senator, you said that the free market should establish the minimum wage. I don't know what you mean. Later,
the upper limits.
There is no upper limit to the minimum wage. The minimum wage is the minimum wage. And if you eliminate the state's minimum wage, you actually cut it $1 an hour, like Bruce Rauner said. So there is no upper limit. The minimum wage is a set level. In the state of Illinois right now, it's at $8.25 an hour. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. There's no such term as upper limits of the minimum wage. It's a simple term, minimum wage. And your remarks, like Bruce Rauner's, made it look like Republicans were trying to adversely affect the incomes of some of our lowest wage earners. And so we've got to be very clear on this because it's a dangerous proposition, particularly in electoral politics if you want to get elected.
Immigration and illegal immigration is largely a federal issue, but one place it does affect the state are when people that are in the country illegally receive social welfare benefits, college scholarships, driver's license. What's your view on that, and how should the state address that issue?
Grandma and Grandpa sell the farm, and they don't have any other assets. It's important for us as a society to be helpful. So for right reasons, Medicaid exists. But then we get to the point of taking away from the needs of grandmas and grandpas because of people that are ineligible because of income ineligibility, or in the cases being suggested here, with regards to illegal participants. As a governor, I would be very active, very much focused on the fact of having that part of our Medicaid program especially cleaned up.
The state should make sure and enforce the law. We have laws in the books that say what is legal and what is not legal. But I think it does, as Senator Rutherford alluded to earlier, when it comes to immigration policy, we have to realize if we want to maintain our economic vibrance, we have to have a better national legal immigration policy. Now, I've called for really two things. And as a governor of the fifth largest state in the nation, I will work with the National Governors Association to make sure that the federal government finally deals with this. But we need a good immigration policy. Right now, today, we're losing far too many people that we educate here. We pay to educate them in the country, and then we make them leave this country and go back to their country when they could be a very valuable asset in the workforce here. Our birth rate, frankly, isn't at a level that we can see economic prosperity and growth that this country wants to see and sustained. So we need an immigration policy that creates a bigger door, but a strong fence. We have to make sure that illegal immigration stops, but we have to partly do that by allowing legal immigration to help reinvigorate our economy. We are a country that was founded on immigration. We have to make sure that we do those things. So as governor, I'm going to work with the National Governors Association to make sure that we're bold in our initiatives to deal with legal immigration in a very productive way and make sure that we enforce the laws in this state when it comes to illegal immigration.
My grandfather was an immigrant to this country who worked in a factory for more than 50 years. So immigration is something that keeps this country strong when it's done legally. I think I said earlier that we need to get anyone who is on Medicaid off of Medicaid unless they are legally eligible, and that would include those who are illegal and illegal immigrants. I believe we need a photo system on something like our link card, our welfare card for food stamps in Illinois. Those cards are traded. They are used to trade. Instead of feeding children with those, they trade them for liquor, for cigarettes, and for cash. And we certainly need to ratchet up. And the Democrats will not do it. But we need to ratchet up our enforcement of those who are not entitled to be on some form of public assistance in Illinois. I am one of only 2 senators that did not vote to give in-state tuition to illegal immigrants. Senator Brady voted to allow in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. Until I can get a child in the competitive university, the University of Illinois, from Downers Grove South High School or Naperville Central High School, I cannot allow in-state tuition for someone who is not a United States citizen.
Senator Dillard brought up a point, and I think it's important, particularly as a party, if we want to bring Latinos into our party, that we not beat them up. The bill he's referring to was a bill that authorized students who were brought here not of their own free will, but went to our high schools as required by the United States Supreme Court, graduated from our high schools with an acceptable grade point average to attend an in-state tuition, like the person sitting next to them, in-state school and in-state tuition. I'm sorry, as a father, I just couldn't hold them to that standard that wouldn't give them the same right as the other student. It wasn't their choice to come here, but they went through our high schools and did that. And I think, frankly, if we want to bring Latinos particularly into the Republican fold, we can't trash them by beating up policies like this. We need to be compassionate conservatives, but we need to make sure that we support policies that do that.
They can go to the U of I if they're accepted. They just can't get the lower tuition. And I have voted to allow them to participate in, with their own money, or the money of their grandparents or parents, the ability to get in Treasurer Rutherford's Bright Start program and College Illinois programs. But again, until I have a seat for a student from, an American student from Naperville Central or Downers Grove South High School, I can't be for that.